What's up, Soul Tribe family? Welcome back to another episode of Soul Seek Conversations, a mental health podcast by Soul Rise Essentials. I am your host, Soliel Lindsey. I'm the owner and host of this podcast and the owner of Soul Rise Essentials. If you are new here, it's your first time joining us, I am the owner of a mental health apparel brand, and we offer mental health merchandise for resilient humans on the go. This podcast is a way that we create community around mental health, essentially. So we come on Instagram once a month, we pull these episodes and they go other places as well. But essentially what we do is we share stories of resilience, build global community, and help you discover new ways to thrive via the brave voices of others. And I am so excited for today's guest. I just have a couple announcements, little house things going on. What's up, y'all? Shout out to the Soul Tribe family. I see y'all in the comments. Gabby will be joining us today, and she is near and dear to my heart for so many reasons, and I cannot wait to share her resilient story with you. Now, before we get into it, okay, y'all, if you don't know, the entire site is marked down. So if you have needs for the holiday, Kwanzaa that you have not shopped for yet, y'all know we don't do sales very often. So head to soulriseessentials.com. If you are new here, sign up for the VIP email list, the text list, and you'll get a 15% off code. And so go ahead and shop. It's already pretty cheap. We don't do this very often. So go ahead and shop for your holiday, Christmas, Kwanzaa needs. We would love to see you and your family members, children, and adults in our mental health merch. Okay. I really don't have any other announcements. You know, we typically do this podcast in around lunchtime. I'm tired. It's been a long, full day. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and get Gabby on in the soul seat so we can have a great conversation. Shout out to Will and Amira and Jazz. I appreciate y'all joining me. Before I bring Gabby in, what I'm going to do is just go ahead and send this podcast out to a couple of people. And I would love if you all did the same. How's everybody doing, honey? Happy holidays. This time of year is so busy. And I want to say a message to the people going through it, because this time of year brings about so many different changes, so many different nuances, so many different feelings and memories. And I totally understand. So I just want to send my love to you and let you know that you are not alone. The Soul Tribe family stands with you, and your feelings are valid. So I always say, whatever you need the holidays to look like, I wish they looked that way for you, because not everybody wants to be happy and jolly and with their family. Like, people go through different things. So whatever you want the holidays to look like for you, that's what I want them to look like for you. Okay. All right, Gabby girl, let me get you all in the room, honey. Oh, I got some. Hold on, I'm tripping. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. I have to do a trigger warning. Every single episode I do a trigger warning, because we do discuss, we're lighthearted. We have a good time over here, but the topics that we discuss sometimes can be triggering to people. So if you find yourself in that situation, feel free to click that X, come on back. If you don't want to come back for whatever reason, it's too much, then honor that space that you're in. We are not professionals. We are simply humans explaining our lived experience, if you will. And so even though we have therapists and people with letters behind their names and all kind of folks coming on here, even Gabby has letters behind her name, we don't have the hats of professionals on this show. We can't diagnose or treat, none of that. We're just humans sharing our lived experiences. So yeah, this is not medical or professional advice. If you are watching the replay, we'd love for you to put in the comments some sunshine emojis. And also you can find all of our episodes on YouTube. And if you have a personal story to share, a mental health story to share, we are booking for 2025. So you can email us at mystory@soulriseessentials.com. We'll make sure it's a good fit. And then if it is, we'll get you on our calendar. We'd love to hear from you. All right, now for real. For real, let me bring her in. How do I? Okay, Gabby, send me a request, Lord, because Instagram then changed something else. Okay, invite to join. Here we go. This is our last podcast of 2024. Because y'all know we do this once a month. So super excited to close it out with our guest today. Y'all see it? Did you get the invite? I'm gonna try to send it again. Our guest today, she is. Hey, love.
Hello. I am so sorry trying to figure out this
Girl, you
technology thing.
fine, baby. You made it. Welcome to the Soul Seat. I am so excited, Gabby, to have you as a guest. And I adore you so much. So just want to say welcome to the Soul Seat and thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. So how are you feeling? I always start off the podcast just doing a quick little check-in. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm nervous as all get out.
I feel like you're nervous and a little excited though.
Oh, I'm definitely more excited than
Good,
nervous.
good.
Definitely.
So I have a couple of different segments on the show. Before we get into anything, I always start with like a mental health check-in. So on a scale from 1 to 5, how are you feeling? How's your mental health in this moment right now?
I would say it's a strong 4.5.
That's good, Gabby. I love that. So I always ask the same question, well, answer the same question. So for me, it's been a very busy day and I haven't had much time to like mentally transition between each thing that I had to do today. And so I would say about a 3, a little bit
That's fair.
tired. Yeah, like a little midway situation. But I'm happy to hear that you are 4.5. That's really good.
Yes, I was able to get my daughter's teacher's Christmas presents.
I just had to take a deep breath because it's too damn busy this time of year. Okay.
It is.
I
It
just
is.
did the same thing yesterday, but I got it done. But prior to yesterday, I totally forgot.
That's been that's been my whole mentality. It's like I have to get this done and I have to keep reminding myself. And then it's like my neighbor came in clutch and he was like, "Hey, you have the podcast, so let me watch Christina." And I was like, "Yes. Do
That
you
was
mind if
so
I run
sweet.
up to Walmart real
That is
quick?" And
so sweet. I love a good neighbor. So,
yes.
Gabby, tell the people who you are because I know who you are, but I want you to catch everybody in the audience up to speed, anybody watching the replay up to speed. Who is Gabby and what does she do?
So I am a registered certified peer recovery specialist, which is a very winded way to say that I use my experiences, my lived experiences with addiction and recovery to help others on their track to recovery. So what I do right now is I work the Alive RVA warm line with Sarah, Virginia. People call in when they're in crisis or just need someone to talk to. We provide resources for those crises, or we just lend the listening ear. Um, I am also on the event planning committee for a local nonprofit called Virginia Fentanyl and Substance Awareness. Um, and I am going to school part time for social work.
Girl, you got your hands full. And I
Yes.
love to do these introductions, but more specifically yours, because just a year ago and some change, we met and your life was completely different. And so I felt like now was the time to get you on the podcast to share because I've just noticed so much transformation in you, and you don't always get a front row seat to people's transition. And I'm just so proud of you and so honored to be able to share your story and have you shared on my platform. So thank you for giving me the trust. I am very proud of all those things that you just shared. I know that you're also a mom. You did kind of hint on it, but you are a proud mom, and I definitely want to talk to you more about that journey with where you and your daughter are now, how y'all even came back to that space. So I want to go back before we go back. I always do a segment where we take a mindful moment. And so I'm not sure if you've watched any other podcast episodes, but I like to do box breathing. It's very accessible when we talk about like therapy and treatment. There's so many different modalities, but your breath, anyone can do it. Everybody has it. If you are alive, if you're listening to me, you have a brain and you have mental health to manage, and you also have breath. And so I like to do box breathing where we just breathe in, inhale for 4 counts, and then we hold for 4, and then we release for 4. So I think iPhone has that thing. I thought it was me, but it's your phone. So I would like to do that with you because we talk about heavy topics on this show. We're going to have a lot of fun, but also, I just like to recenter myself mainly because of the conversation, but also because of whatever it was we were doing in our lives before we sat down in this chair.
Absolutely.
You ready?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So just you relax yourself and close your eyes, and then I'll just guide you into the breath. So we're going to breathe in starting in 3, 2, 1 for 4. 4, and hold that and release. All right, let's go into the second one. And in for 4, and hold and release. Let's go into our third one. In for 4, hold and release. Last one. In for 4, and hold and release. How do you feel?
Like that is such an underrated part of mental health. I feel so much better. Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes, listen, I'm sure you needed it. I needed it. The day has been great. It's been productive, but it's been very busy. So I
Yes.
love, love, love starting off the podcast like that. Thank you for doing that with me.
Yeah.
So, Gabby, take us back, honey, because you have told us what you do. And I love getting behind the story of people because there's always more than what meets the eye. Like, we've heard that you are a peer recovery specialist, you're in school for social work. But why do people get to a space where they feel like that's something they even want to do? Working with a population that is in active addiction or even in recovery, that takes a very skilled person and somebody very mindful about what it is to be in that situation. So why you?
Oh, good grief. So I had been addicted to alcohol since I was 10 years old.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Um, and I didn't realize that till I talked to my clinician, but um, there came a turning point for me, and I checked myself into rehab. Um, and this is like the perfect time of year to bring up this analogy that I bring up to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Um, y'all know when you go to put Christmas lights up on the house, they are never in order. It's a
Yeah.
huge knot. And so that's what my life was. And I went up to a bunch of strange women who didn't know me from Adam and I didn't know them.
Mm-hmm.
And I just handed them this mess and said, "Can y'all help me fix it?" And just the way that they welcomed me, they heard me, they validated me. It was something that I longed for my whole life. Just to have that unconditional love and just the acceptance. Um, and to just have like a network I could fall on. It was like from the first moment I felt like I could trust these women. And so I just sat there in rehab for 4.5 months, just seeing what these women were doing. And I was like, you know what? That's what I want to do when I grow up. I want to be someone who can say, you know what, you're getting frustrated untangling this. Let me try a different technique.
Yeah.
Just hand it over and I'll help you.
Who were these women?
It was the staff at RBHA, the old Rubicon.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What
Um,
was it that made you decide to go?
so I had a visit while I was staying. We came up here from Virginia Beach, and so someone I knew had paid for a hotel room.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for my daughter and I and my dog to stay in. Um, and a very triggering incident happened, and so police got called. And shortly after the police left, a CPS worker came. And of course, my heart sank. Um, right before, like, right when I welcomed this woman into the hotel room, I said, I have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I need help. I need resources. I don't know of anything in the area. And I grew up in Virginia Beach, and I didn't know anything about treatment there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so she's like, yeah, I'll get you those. Let's just go ahead and take care of this interview, and then I'll make sure you're taken care of. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
cool. 8.5 hour long interview, and my daughter ends up getting taken and put with someone else who I thought was a friend of mine. Um, and there were no resources given. Um, there was no way I could contact her. Um, so of course, during the interview, like even before she showed up, I was like looking up ways to get into treatment. And I'm like, how do people do this? Like, I come from a long line of addicts. No, nobody's quit before. Nobody told me how to do
Yeah.
this. So, I had a friend of mine who is now my sponsee. She was actually on my phone the whole time. And she heard the interview, she heard everything, and she was like, what you need to do is you need to, she's like, I know right now you really don't want to because you feel like you need the help. She said, but this is the way you're going to need to get help. You have to sit in the parking lot of Virginia Beach Psych and drink a 6-pack.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So I had it all planned out. I got my dog to a foster facility, not a facility, but a friend, who could keep her for a little while I took care of myself. And got myself checked into VB Psych, stayed there for 10 days. And they asked me, they were like, well, do you want us to discharge you after your 10-day hold?
Hmm.
Who are you talking to? Because I ain't going anywhere.
Yeah. Wow.
Like, no, I have a problem. 10 days is not enough.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, okay, well, we'll run your insurance. We'll talk to facilities. We'll see who's going to take you. I was like, great. Just keep in mind, I have a daughter. I'm trying to get her back. Like, and so um, they told me, they were like, well, RBHA is going to be on their way in the morning. Awesome. And then I go through a couple months there, and I swear the director got sick of me after a while. I was like, I need to get my daughter back. Like, this is the reason I'm getting sober, is her. And finally, Miss Barry called me out of my room and she was like, I have some news for you. And my heart sank. And I was like, oh gosh. And she was like, your daughter's going to be here tomorrow night. And I, like, what I've noticed now being in the field is once a lot of women get their children back,
Mm-hmm.
then they want to jet. They're like, thanks for helping me with that. Now I'm good.
Yeah.
And it was like, for me, for getting her back,
Mm-hmm.
it was like, we're in it
Mm-hmm.
now. And so it just kept me wanting to stay on track. And it's like, you know what? Everything I have done beforehand
Mm-hmm.
hasn't worked out. Can y'all teach me how to do this? And so I can break this cycle and break this generational curse and be the mom she deserves and be the woman I deserve.
Yes.
So really it was seeing her running from that woman's van, running to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, yeah.
I want to go back. Thank you for sharing all of that.
Yeah.
I would love to go back because you said something that was not news to me because we did a pre-interview. But you said I'm sure it was a shock for other people to hear it. You said that you have been addicted to alcohol since the age of 10. How, honey?
So this is going to age me a little bit, but so um I was in 4th grade and a family friend came to pick me up, and that was like out of the norm. So I already knew something was up. And he takes me to the mall, lets me buy whatever I want.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually we get home, and my mother is sobbing. Like, what's going on? And she tells me my grandmother passed away.
Mm.
And it didn't matter how many funerals I had been to, how close I had been to my grandmother. It wasn't computing.
Yeah.
Um, so I just had like this emotional block.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like, well, I have something to fix that.
Oh.
And we went up to Food Lion, and I got my first 4-pack of Seagrams.
Oh my goodness. And this was your mom.
This was my mother. And, and that's how my family copes. One side of my family's Irish Catholic and the other side is Native American.
They have a good time, honey.
Yeah, and so you mix the two,
Yeah.
and how do you not get addiction in that bloodstream? It's just, and so it's like, as long as I can remember, we have icky feelings, and it's like,
Mm.
let's code it, let's get that instant gratification, and let's ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, so that happened when I was 10 years old, and it wasn't like a constant. It wasn't like I was sneaking out or going to the
Yeah. That
fridge
was
or anything.
the
It,
intro.
it was the
Yep.
intro, and it's like any time that someone had proposed the idea to me of drinking, then I was like, let's do it.
Mm.
And it's just, even at a younger age, I wouldn't do it just socially, because that sentence makes sense. But it's like I would do it to numb myself. And it became a thing where it was like, no wonder my family does this.
Right.
Like, I can escape. So,
Yes. So I read in the comments somebody said their mom at 8. I said, Lord, 8. I'm tired, child. That says aunt. Okay. Gave it to me in elementary school. That brought up a memory for me. Times are different because when I was younger, my aunt also gave me a cap full of E&J
right.
to put us to sleep. And I actually watched a video earlier about, I mean, it's a whole lot I can say about this, but I watched a video earlier about like a hot toddy and how it's made, and people would give it to their kids. Times just are so different. But when you take a story like what you just shared, what Shantae just shared in the comments, the story that I just shared, if we go on to become addicts, then that would be our origin story. So if there are other things to allow me to help my child sleep or cope, getting rid of some big icky feelings, we just gonna have to figure that out. Because I don't want that to be the intro and the origin story. But I don't think people knew, But I'm just so glad that something somewhere inside of you was like, no, ma'am. And I love how so many people in our generation, I call us janitors because we sweeping out the old shit,
Yes.
okay? And making room for the new. And it doesn't mean that we get everything right, it's perfect. there's a lot of resentment from Gen X and even some boomers toward us, but we can't help that we were born for such a time as this. And I love, and I'm not saying we're the first and the only, but I love how something just clicked inside of you like, this is a generational curse. This is a pattern in my family. And I didn't hear you place any blame on anybody. You just said that this is what it was. And what I'm also sensing is that you're like, this is where it stops, you know? And so I just love, I don't love to hear that that was the origin story, you know, but I love, and this is why you're on the podcast. I love that you've um, transmuted those experiences. And that's not even the half of the things that you've gone through, because I know people listening have heard you share about your daughter coming back. And that was not an easy process
Mm-mm.
at all.
No.
You've had custody of your daughter officially for how many years?
Oh gosh. So I got her back after it was around Father's Day.
How old was she? Because she's 5 now, right?
She's 5 now, so she was, gosh, I feel terrible. So
It happens, girl.
she was 2.
Okay, you got her back when she was 2.
Mm-hmm.
How long was she away?
2.5 months.
Oh,
And CPS,
wait.
yeah, CPS told me it would be closer to a year.
Oh, and you got her back sooner. How were
Yes.
you able to do that? I want you to paint that picture a little bit more for us.
So, so the friend of mine, um, she messed up from the start. Um, the day after she got custody, she asked me for my daughter's health insurance and social security.
Mm-hmm.
And even in my like
Mm-hmm.
whole stupor that I was in, I was like, that doesn't make sense. And she was saying so that she could take her to the commissary to go grocery shopping. Okay, so you're talking to a former dependopotamus.
Wait, what?
I was
What is
married.
that? What
I
is
was married. I was married to a sailor
that?
before.
Okay.
Neither one of y'all are military,
Mm-hmm. You think I'm stupid?
right? Y'all like there. This just doesn't make sense. And so I had messaged the CPS worker, and, and I think I emailed her, and I was like, "This is what she's saying," and she was like, "Oh no, this is not going to be happening." And then while my daughter was in their care, the husband actually had a CPS case open on him because their son had gone to school saying he was hitting him. And a couple of times when I was able to FaceTime my daughter, there were marks on her, and I never said anything to them because I come from a place of a lot of trauma, and it's like I'm not going to say anything to mess up where she is, and I'm not going to have any animosity be taken out on her. So I just kept that quiet. So I think it was just the perfect storm of all the things happening while she was there that CPS was like, you know what, we're going to go ahead and place her back with her mom
Mm-hmm.
because her mom's doing all these things.
Because you were getting better
Right.
and in treatment.
And Miss Barry was speaking so highly of me to the CPS worker, and yeah, I don't know how it didn't get into courts and all that. Like, I hear everybody else's story, and I'm like, how did I bypass all that? Um,
When you said the word storm just now, it made me want to ask you, where does that come from in your name? Why do you call yourself that? What is that all about?
oh gosh. So I was named Gabrielle partially because everyone in my family has biblical names. So I
Mm-hmm.
was named after Gabriel. Gabrielle was also, this is a sense of humor my family has. Gabrielle was in case I wanted to be a lawyer.
Okay, we'll go with it.
And then my middle name, Storm,
Oh, that's your real middle name.
that's my real middle name.
Okay.
Yep. Storm was in case the lawyer thing didn't work out and I had to be a stripper.
I'm sorry. That is a. I love that story though, as crazy as it is.
My
Okay.
favorite part was when politicians I was working for would be like, so I have to know.
Right.
And I'm like, invite your wife into this office real quick because I'm not having this.
Yes.
So let me explain it to both
And
y'all.
speaking of politics, girl, you have gone on. I actually had somebody else on my podcast named Zico, very similar story, where she was in active addiction and has gone on to do some of the same things that you're doing, peer recovery, harmful reduction,
Harm
something,
reduction. Yep.
harm reduction specialist, and y'all are making it to the delegates and in these rooms and with politicians, and that is amazing to me, because you could have just got clean and just said, I'm gonna mind my business, get my child back. But what I am seeing more and more through and through is that people, and you can correct me if I'm wrong because this is not my lane, it's more so yours, but people who have gone through recovery seem to do best when they are helping others. What are your thoughts on that?
So a lot of us will say that helping others helps us in our recovery. Um, that's kind of the 12th step if you're into step work, and that's carrying the message. Um, and helping the still sick and suffering. And I will say for me, it is a huge part of my healing because not that not that I thrive off, someone doing worse
Yeah.
than me. It's the fact that, one thing I'm sorry, I'm like all over the place right now, but it's like one message keeps going through my head and it's always, we are one decision away. And so when people call me or they talk to me who are still in active addiction or they're going through a crisis or something, it's like, I am still, it doesn't matter how much clean time I have. I am only one decision away from being right where they are, or even worse.
Mm-hmm.
And, and I mean, we find it a lot with people who are so into their religion. They're so into whatever kind of lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
that really helped
Yeah.
them. You want to get the message
Yeah.
out. And, it's like, if it helped someone like me, imagine what it could do for you. And let me just share the gifts that I've been given and let me help you. And it it just gives back to me because it just goes back to the women who helped me when I was down, you know.
And these women had gone through treatment themselves.
Yes.
How many years have you been, is it clean? I mean, that's what I would naturally say, but is that appropriate?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like my thing was alcohol and pot.
Mm-hmm.
Um
I ain't heard that word in a long time.
yeah, reefer,
I'm
the
weak.
devil's lettuce. Yes.
That is hilarious.
Yes. Um but I was able to give weed down like so much easier. I was able to give that up.
Hmm.
But I have been sober from alcohol. Um February 27th will mark 3 years.
Okay, come on, baby.
Yes.
Love that for you.
Yes, I am so excited and it's just so awesome.
Girl, I am just, you almost bring tears to my eyes, because where you are now and where you were when we first met, I'll share about how we met. Forward Foundation is a program in Richmond, a nonprofit, Richmond, Virginia, that assists working single moms and dads going through a life change that has affected their finances. And so you can imagine where Gabby was. Her situation was very different. And I actually went through this program as a single mom myself during the pandemic. And people come in our program for a plethora of reasons. It just so happens that Gabby, her financial situation was different due to her addiction and recovery. She was in recovery at the time. And so, of course, we entered the program for different reasons, but I graduated and I worked part time for this organization. And so I met Gabby, and just a very stark difference. I mean, you were never a bad person or anything like that, but your demeanor, your openness, you've just blossomed so much. And to be at kind of the beginning stages of getting your daughter back and trying to situate yourself, moving into a new home and getting a new job and starting school and doing all the peer recovery stuff. I've witnessed all of that stuff. And our children are the same age. And so, parenting our children is rough at any stage or whatever you're going through in life. And trying to do that with all of the trauma that you've gone through, aside from your addiction, it's not an easy feat. And so just witnessing that and seeing how you've blossomed, seeing how you are a cheerleader. Jazzy going forward says, I'm so proud of you, Gabby. Seeing you be a cheerleader for these new moms coming into our group, regardless of what their situation is. Because I work for the Forward Foundation. And so I get to intimately be in community with these women. She's been one of them, graduating this month actually from the program, and will be coming back to mentor other moms. It just warms my heart because yes, I've got a lot going on with Soul Rise Essentials. Yes, I'm a mom. Yes, I work part-time for this organization, and it is a lot, but it's very rewarding when I meet people like you and I'm in community with people like you, regardless of what job I have, because my purpose is to help people bring out the best in themselves. And for me to be able to say that I've been part of that journey for you, it warms my heart. It makes all the things that I do on a daily basis worth it. And just, sending kudos because parenting is hard. And when you have come from a long history of trauma and even active addiction, such as yourself, there's so much that we have to unlearn. And that shit is hard. And so people talk about parenting and conscious parenting and gentle parenting. You ain't going to be conscious and gentle all the time when you come from dysfunction and addiction. And so I know the days are long. I know the days are tough. And it's just been a joy to be in community with you because regardless of what our situation looks like, you get up and you keep moving. And that's why I love advocating for single parents. I'm not glorifying us being single parents because there's so many different situations that put us in this predicament. But what remains true in the fact that and what remains true and should be celebrated is that we get up and we push forward, regardless of how we got into this situation. And so, like I said, to be in community with you, getting your child back, parenting by yourself, going to school, girl, you doing it. And it just brings me joy to have you on this platform and to introduce you to my audience and for them to see you and be inspired by you. Amira's in the comments. She's like, oh, I love this. You are a powerhouse. And I'm going to cheer you on and root from the freaking, what they call it, rooftops. Shout from the rooftops about you and whatever it is I can do to keep you pushing forward and thriving. I'm going to do it because I'm just so proud of you. And you are such a cheerleader for these moms. I'm like, look at Gabby, girl, doing it, just making people feel so welcome when they come in the group. It's like, welcome to the tribe. We got your back. What you need? What's up? And gonna always share a resource. They ain't gonna never want for anything as long as you are part of our community, So I just had to give you your flowers, girl. I am so proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I have low key admired you since I met you because you have this merchandise line and you're doing your thing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I mean, it's like there's just certain people and certain women you meet, and it's like that's what I want to be when I grow up.
That is so sweet. I want to be you when I grow up, honey. So the feeling is mutual. It is absolutely mutual. I wanted to ask you a question. What are your thoughts on how alcohol is glorified literally everywhere you look? And the reason I ask you that is because I know you personally have boundaries about where you will go, what you will entertain. What are your thoughts when you turn on TV and somebody graduated, it's a baby shower, Christmas is here, like let's have a drink? What are your thoughts on that?
I hate, nay, I loathe, um, just from personal experience, I loathe how drinking is so socially acceptable. Um, just because, you know, like you said, when you turn the TV on, when like celebratory, I don't know, I have like mixed feelings because it's like celebratory, pop the champagne bottle. Somebody dies, maybe alcohol is not the thing we should go to. I mean, it's just like, and I have actually kind of branched out, um, and dipped my toes in putting myself in those situations because it's like I can't run from alcohol forever.
Mm-hmm.
It's sold in grocery stores. You're gonna see it at a baseball game.
Yeah.
I can't avoid
Yeah.
it. But also I can't put all these people who don't have a problem with it
Yeah.
in the same square I am.
Yeah. That's healthy. That's balance.
And like even last night I celebrated my neighbor's birthday with her and a friend of hers, and I was like, y'all, I will drive so that if y'all choose to imbibe at dinner, we're good. And they had a cocktail and it was like, yeah, I don't even have the hankering for it. Like I think if it was even offered to me nowadays from somebody who doesn't know what I've
Yeah.
been through, I'd be like, yeah, my celebratory drink is Diet Pepsi. I will have a Diet Pepsi. Um, but one thing that really did drive me nuts was during the pandemic, and I came out of recovery like I don't know, at the end of the initial hype of COVID. But it's like where Instacart had these commercials on Roku, and it's like, hey, we'll deliver the alcohol to you. And I'm like, get that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's not healthy.
Yeah.
Um, and the restaurants being able to do their ABC off license. You know, it's like, should we really arm people who are driving with their dinners with alcohol? But, that's why I'm not in public office. So
What is it what else is it that you want to share with our audience?
don't be ashamed, number one, of any part of your story. Bring light to it because you never know what part of your story might touch someone in a crowd.
Mm-hmm.
And don't be ashamed of asking for help. There, there's people like me who legit hand out, like, we will lend out a helping hand. That is what I do for a living. Um, and, like in the rooms, we always ask, like, what are you grateful for today? Or just something like that. And the very first thing I always say is, I'm grateful for my past.
Mm.
Because as rocky and as disheveled and ugly as my past might be, I, I wouldn't have the foundation to build on where I am now.
Yeah.
And I would have no kind of perspective to view what I'm going through now and how amazing it is. You know, like some people get handed everything throughout their life, and it's like, I've had to work for it and then some. And so I have a great perspective of, like, I've been through all this stuff, and I have gotten the house. I got myself a car. I got my daughter back. I've got a job. I have the privilege to pay bills.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't paid my own bills, and I didn't do that until I was 32 years
Mm.
old. And, and it's just and and just one more is celebrate the small wins.
Mm-hmm.
You know, waking up in the morning and putting your feet on the floor is not celebrated enough.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What do you have to say to anybody who happens to listen to this? Somebody may send them this video, or they may happen upon it on YouTube or somewhere else. What do you have to say about someone in active addiction right now?
Tiptoe, but don't. um if it's something that you're aware of, make them aware that you're aware. um do not enable, and don't give ultimatums. If it's not a parent offspring relationship, don't make it a parent offspring relationship. um and if anybody needs to reach me for any kind of resources, my Instagram is on yours now. If that's a way people need to get in touch with me, or just reach out to you and you can get in touch with me. Um, and I mean, just Google any kind of resources you can. Just be a friend to them, lend a listening ear, sit in the trenches with them without judging. Some people go shopping when they're feeling down. Some people drink or use drugs when they're feeling down. Just one is less socially acceptable. Um, but just listen to them, be there with them, and just sit in the trenches for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
That's really a lot of us. What we need is just someone to be there with us and not be like, let's help you get out. No, just sit in the funk with us a minute, and then when it's time to get out, provide the ladder.
Mm-hmm. What do you have to say to someone struggling with active addiction?
You are worth it. You are worth it. And I know it's so cliche to say that, along with you are important. Um, but it does get better. It absolutely gets better. And that instant gratification is only going to give you that instant gratification. It's not going to be long term. Um,
Yeah.
and you're never going to get that first feeling you
Mm-hmm.
felt.
You be chasing something you can never get again.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, if there's family out there, whether you talk to them or not, most likely they care. And there's people out there worth fighting for, and you're one of them.
I know that's right. What do you do, Gabby. That's our final segment. I asked you in the beginning, what do you do? You share with us your work. What do you do to keep you mentally well? What do you do that brings you joy? Would love to hear those things for people watching that need a pick me up. Some suggestions, even.
My absolute favorite thing, I am such a book nerd. I love to read. Um, Thankfully, finishing this past semester just the other day, I can read again. Um, and I love to light incense throughout my house. Um, I like to get all the senses going. I'll cook some good food. I love to get lost in cooking. Um, and one thing I used to do because I would actually go out to work was as soon as I got in my car, I would put my badge on my rearview mirror. And that was my way to say, work Gabby is off. Now that I work at home, um, it's kind of hard to keep them different, keep them separated, but um, in between phone calls, if I can, I'll step away for a minute. I'll get some fresh air, gather myself. Um, but I also love to do walks with my dog and my daughter. My daughter tags along to a lot of events. I love going out and networking. Um, and I just love showing. I love. I love raising her, but I do it with a different narrative from what I was raised as. And so I teach her the different aspects of recovery. Like you might meet people who are in addiction, and then you'll meet people who are in recovery. And then, when she gets older, because I'm in the field, we might have to go to funerals and we might have to go do the not so pretty stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I like to keep myself aware of all things and make sure she's aware of all
So she
things,
knows your
age
your journey and
appropriate.
your story.
She knows a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
She does know a lot of it. Just because, when I was a kid, it was one of those like children are seen, not heard. Not in this house. Um, no one in this house is above the other. And I don't have a partner. I'm strictly strictly mom, and there is no one to have for backup, and so it's like she's kind of my life partner right now. And so it's like I don't want to hide anything from her. Um and I'm not going to shelter her because I don't want her to grow up and be like, well, I was never exposed to this, so let's go balls to the wall with this. And it's
Yeah.
like, no, no, you're going to know what it does to people.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Proud of you, girl.
thanks.
Do you have any other final words as we wrap up the podcast?
I don't I don't know. Um Gosh, just stay connected. Whether it be your community, your family, your friends, stay
Mhm.
connected.
That's what Jazzy said. She said connection is key. That's real.
Yeah, that's why she's
I
my
love it.
girl. Yeah.
And that's
That's
exactly why the Soul Trap family exists. That's exactly why we have these conversations. It's exactly why we have this podcast. To bring things to the forefront. Just as you said, your daughter's going to know so she can be exposed to it, the information at least, not alcohol, of course.
right.
But so she knows. We have to, in order to combat these curses and patterns, sweep the shit from under the rug.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't, like I don't treat her like a lot of parents treat their 5-year-olds, but I mean, it's like living where we are, me having gone through what I went through.
You got to be real with her.
I do. I mean, I owe that to her.
If you don't, someone else will.
Exactly.
And Our
And I
children are very similar. They're 5, they're smart, they don't miss anything, but they are still so vibrant. They're still children. And I think it's
right.
because we talk to them like they're people.
Yes. And that's been my thing since she was a little baby. Like when she started talking, it wasn't goo goo gaga. It was mom want something. You know, I mean it I've just always done that with her. And she hangs out with grown-ups. And I mean, I'm not going to shelter you from something so that later on it's like, yeah, I want to try that cuz I don't know what that's like. So, I don't know.
You're doing a great job, honey. And I
Thank you.
just want to say thank you for joining the Soul Seat. I think this may be your first time sharing your story publicly. Is that true?
This publicly, yes.
Okay. Well, thank
Yes.
you for trusting us and joining the Soul Seat. I'm going to stay on for just a couple more minutes and like make some quick announcements. But I just want to say thank you for being a thriver and for trusting me in this community and for sharing your story.
Well, and I do want to thank you for having this space for people in the community. Like this is incredible. So, thank you for offering me the seat tonight and opening this space
You
for us.
are very welcome. All you got to do is hit that little X up there and they'll take you right on out. Have a wonderful night,
Yes.
girl. Thank you so much.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you. See you later.
Bye.
Y'all, that wraps up episode 39 of Soul Seat Conversations. We are moving into 2025, and Gabby got to wrap up this podcast season for the year. And I hope you are just as moved and empowered by her, inspired by her as I am. Just being in a community like that, like she said, just sitting in the trenches with people while they get their stuff together is so undervalued. Sometimes we look for like this big solution, and as Jazzy said in the comments, it's really about connection. Just connect with people and let them know that they are not alone. That's why we exist. That's why this podcast exists. Again, this was episode 39 of Soul Seed Conversations, a mental health podcast where we share stories of resilience, build global community, and help you discover new ways to thrive via the brave voices of others. Again, my name is Soliel Lindsey. I'm your host and also the owner of Soul Rise Essentials. You can shop our beautiful, positive, Lord, I can't even talk, beautiful, positive, and bright mental health merchandise for you and your children at soulriseessentials.com. That's SOLRISE essentials.com. We will see you next month, honey, for another episode. Shout out to the Soul Tribe family. If you made it to the end watching this video, go ahead and put some sunshine emojis in the comments. And again, if you have a resilience or a mental health story to share, you can reach out to us at mystory@soulriseessentials.com. Hey, Barrington, I know I owe you a text back. I ain't forgot you. I'm gonna text you. I got you. And I can make it happen. I got you. I promise. Also, remember to mind your mind and shine your light. I'll see y'all in 2025, honey. Peace.